We've all experienced shame in some form or another. And what we experience on the outside often impacts our internal world and the way that we talk to ourselves and even how we motivate ourselves to change our behaviors. The problem is that shame won't prevent us from repeating behaviors. It won't shield us from pain, and it won't propel us forward into the life of freedom and fulfillment that God's calling us to. The antidote for shame is compassion. So, today I'd like to lead you in a brief meditation to help you become more aware of how shame is playing a role in your life. I want to invite you to just note your experience as you do this versus focusing so much on the results. This may be an entirely new experience for you. And in fact, some of you may even feel uncomfortable with the word meditation in a secular setting, as your Christian background may have told you that it's worldly and even dangerous. So just notice whether your nervous system allows you to move along with this practice or whether there's parts of you that back up or contract when you hear some suggestions. And if that happens, nothing's wrong, but that's just something that can absolutely occur. And I just want to invite you to notice if that does actually happen. So let's take a moment to just notice your posture. Notice if you are comfortably in a supportive position and if you can be relatively still for a few moments. First, I invite you to turn your attention inside toward your bodily experience, perhaps feeling where your body meets the surface on which you are resting, the points of contact. I'm going to walk you through a few moments of a long out breath, and this is where we gently begin to shift our rhythm so that our exhalations are about twice as long as our inhalations. They can be a little longer than that or a little shorter, depending on what's comfortable for you. So you'll inhale for, say, a count of two, 1, 2, then exhale for a count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So inhale, 1, 2, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you exhale, imagine that you are exhaling through a long, narrow straw. This slows exhalation and helps you down regulate into a settled, comfortable state. So keep doing the long out breath. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can allow your eyes to rest gently by dropping your gaze down the bridge of your nose or even closing them completely. I want you to bring to mind a time, maybe earlier today or in the past few days, when you were judging yourself or shaming or blaming yourself. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to pick something that's a 1, 2, or maybe a 3. It could be judging yourself for how you spoke with someone that you're in a relationship with, or how you talked to your dog, or how you interacted with a driver who cut you off in traffic. So just something minor. Think of a minor daily occurrence. It doesn't have to be huge. See if you can pick one over the last 3 days or so where you were just judging yourself, where there was some self criticism from inside of you. And notice as you bring it to your mind, you may feel yourself contract a little bit. You may feel some tightening in your abdomen or your lower chest. And if not, that's fine. Again, we're just noticing. I invite you to place one or both hands on your heart, and a variation can be one hand on your heart and one hand on your cheek. And first, let's just take a moment feeling into how your body and your nervous system responds to just having these two places of contact. You may notice that you rest a little bit more when you're connected like this. Let's go back and bring up that instant of judging, shaming, or blaming, and make it alive again, this time being in touch with your heart and your body. See if you can see this and view this like you would a child. They're just responding in this way because they needed to. They were in a bad mood, so they were short. They were rushing, so they were less patient with a dog or a driver. See if you can offer some tenderness some friendliness, some validation to the fact that we're not perfect. We're human. And we do things that may not be our ideal of how we would like to act, but we do our best. And now just see if you can view or sense this action from earlier today or whenever it was. And can you give yourself some grace with that? Can you begin to see that the anxiety and the energy behind saying or doing these things is often coming up because you were personally under pressure? Something was going on versus you're just inherently a bad person who just says and does wrong things. Something was going on that made you speak or act or say this. Can you have any caring or openness to the pain that that part of you feels that tries so hard? And when you bring up that incident in your mind again now, I invite you to just notice how it feels in the body when you recall that same judgment or shame or blame. Does it feel as striking, or does it feel a little less tightening, a little less like a punch now that you have some space to be with it without being overwhelmed by it or having to turn away? When you're ready, you can allow your hands to come down to your side, and you can open your eyes up if you haven't done so already. And just take a moment to observe and notice. How did that feel for you? Some of you may have found that fairly easy to do, while others will find it strangely challenging and maybe even uncomfortable. And I would propose that some of the reasons that it's more difficult for some people is that they have had much less experience with meditation or less experience developing and cultivating compassion for themselves. And if that's the case for you, I invite you to come back to this a little later in the week. Notice how it feels the second time around and what comes up for you then. So remember, you've never been where you are in this very moment. It's a new day with new challenges, and you are doing the best you know how. Have compassion as you continue to learn and to grow.